Yeah, we're live now for some reason, and let's see if that works. Well, it did, didn't it? Yeah, and in the meantime, there's some semblance of normality beginning to return, but for some reason, our news source is playing up, and I hate doing this in front of you because the mystery of television is it's like the mystery of royalty is, but it just ain't working this morning, and I have no semblance of any idea of why it isn't. However, what I can tell you is that let's just try all the connections just to make sure. See, you have to be everything in this job: electrician, technician, presenter, you name it. And while I'm waiting for things to try and work again, he said, right, okay, let's see. Well, it says it's working, but it ain't. So we're going to have to go with all sorts of things that are not normal this morning. Welcome back after the holiday. And what a holiday it was. On Friday, we had our we had our reception for the coronation, which was absolutely superb. The atmosphere was terrific. We had the piper, Dirk Campbell. We had two groups, one folk group, one jazz group, who mingled very nicely. We had the Raging Fire. Jane had decorated the front bar of the what's known as the Farmer's Bar, or the lounge of the White Hart Hotel. We had the cameras rolling, and everything was fine. We just didn't have the people, and then they started to come. Eventually, we had about 35 people at our reception, and we had planned for 40. So we didn't do too badly. But as the morning went on, as with our Christmas do, somehow this place just seems to generate magic, just a touch of magic. And by the time that we'd finished this, nobody wanted to leave. All that it pointed out, and I've talked to many people over the weekend, is first of all, we don't, everybody was cock a hoop about the election, and I'll have more to say about that. My God, the electorate has managed to stamp itself in the foot. Nothing to do with the political parties. It's just that there's no bloody opposition, and our form of democracy, our form of government depends upon a really, really spirited opposition. And that's what's wrong with this government, this Conservative government. It's got no spirited opposition. If it did, it might have behaved much, much better. And now what have we got in Lewis? Exactly the same situation. And who did it? Well, you did, the voter. And I hope you don't live to regret it. But the politicians never turn up to these things, even though we invite them. It gives us a chance to talk to them, to get some feeling of them. They don't care. They are arrogant in the extreme, and this election has done nothing to change that. And the civil service, even more arrogant. And the business community couldn't care less, except they just whinge about the high street. It is disappointing. This town is in a mess, and it needs some real leadership, really strong leadership. And I don't see that it's got any from any of the people that have been elected. So while most people are cock-a-hoop and celebrating, I am in despair at the state of this town, the state of this district, and the fact that nobody cares that it comes from Eastbourne. How the hell do you get leadership of anywhere if the leaders are sitting 10 miles away? You can't do it. It is impossible. The only person I know that can walk on water is me. And I'm not in Eastbourne, I'm here. But it's akin to walking on water, to try to steer and guide and return prosperity and excitement and enthusiasm to a town from another one 10 miles away. And particularly one that is bankrupt all the time and using our money. Third highest council tax in the country we are. And where's the money going? Down the slippery valley all the way to Eastbourne. Oh, much is made of the Greens, who destroyed rainforests getting elected. The Lib Dems, who have slipped to second place. Labour has had a resurgence, and it has got one or two people. Now, let me say straight away, there are some really good people on the council. Really good people on the council. It doesn't count for anything because they're tied to political parties. And political parties do their thing. They don't do what's good for the electorate. They do what's good for their party. So those good people are muted. Not only that, but after a lot of whinging and yelling and screaming, they will not abandon the cabinet system. Go back to the old committee system, where all councillors were able to make a contribution with their strengths, yea, and their weaknesses. But they all got involved. As it is, it's the height of comedy to go down to a council meeting. All those in favour, pull the string, hand up. All those against, pull the string. Why? Because they're all tied to the political party and they don't dare, even if they think that it's bad legislation, they don't dare go against it. All this has got to stop. It is not democratic. And on the weekend, I received from an organisation that I belong to the scale of press freedom and interference in the world. And the UK has slipped to number 26. It was 24 before, which wasn't much better, but it's slipped 2 places. We're on the downward slippery slope. Why? Because of political interference. Because of politics trying to stop freedom of speech, freedom of expression. That's the society we're living in. And that's the society that's just got a new king. Can we turn it around? Can we start as of today and say, let's improve the situation? I doubt it. They're the same old players. Whoopty. So far up their own you-know-whats that they can't see the wood for the trees. Full of BS and very, very short on action. What was very disturbing was that so many of the politicians that were elected saying, we got rid of the Tories. I don't care whether you got rid of the Tories or the Lib Dems, Labour or anybody else, or the Greens for that matter. What I want to see is good people in governance, good people in charge. And there were some good Tories as well as there are good anybody else. And what have we got? A lot of dross in their place. So you think that we're better off? No, we are not. This town was in a mess and it's going to be in a bigger mess. Well, somebody has got to act as the opposition, and Mirador Television is gearing itself to do that. We have spoken fearlessly until now, and we intend to keep it that way. And if they try to close us down, okay. Because I've always wanted to get back to pirate radio and pirate television. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Go full circle from the 1950s, the 1960s, when it all came unhindered from ships anchored in the channel. Wonderful. We are not faultless. We're not holding ourselves up as paragons of virtue. What we are saying is we are here to do a job, and we intend to do that job. Come, no fear or favor. Yeah, some lovely people on the council. There are people that I like, people I'll have a drink with, people I'll chat to, and there are some that I wouldn't touch with a barge pole. And speaking of which, now we've got the Greens as the biggest party, and presumably Labour and Lib Dem aren't going to get into bed together to tip that over. That the Greens are coming into authority, into so-called leadership, with a whiff of scandal around them. A scandal that was brewing before the election. An election in which they were less than honest with the stuff that they kept on telling us about their teams, experienced teams. No, they weren't. They just said that on their posters. Why on earth the Electoral Commission would allow that sort of thing, I have no idea, but it just shows you the state of the country, the state of the town. And somebody's got to start to yell and rant and rave and stamp their little feet. Well, it's us. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch, do you? But to tell you, if you don't actually start to worry about what's going on, then I'm afraid you're in for a rude ride over the next 4 years. A rude ride. As one of my colleagues says, I can't vote for the Greens because they are managerially incompetent. And he's right. They've got great ideas. Save the planet. How do you save the planet? Well, we'll go into a meeting. Let's have a cabinet meeting. Yes. Yes, sir. Who's my baby? No, sir, I don't need maybe. Who's there? No. Oh, we've got something wrong here, and I have no idea what it is. I have none whatsoever. And it was working when I left home, and now it's not. Well, it gives me time to gasp, take a breath, doesn't it? Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And that's not working either. So here I am, hands tied behind my back. The only thing I've got this morning is to rant and to rave. What basically the papers are saying this morning are that the king wowed it, that he managed to pull off his coronation with some aplomb, and that the feel-good factor has swept over to the start of this week, and that Charles has got the country behind him. Now, I doubt if that's true. The papers are swept up with it. Nearly all of them are swept up with it. And I speak a great deal to people who are Republicans or who are not behind the monarchy. Well, that's their choice. But I'll tell you why I am. And that is because there are 9 constitutional monarchies, of which we are one, in Europe. 9 countries. And they all have stable governments. Oh, okay. I mean, is one of our ambassadors to the Balkans is a friend of mine. And he said, "What do you mean, Keith? Stable? Look at what's going on in Parliament. That's nothing to do with instability. Instability is what happens when you get insurrection, when you get people rioting in the streets to try and overthrow government. That's instability. Robust yelling and even incompetence in government or governance isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's certainly not considered to be unstable. So we are a successful country in governance terms, and we are, along with the likes of Norway and Sweden and Denmark and the Netherlands, a constitutional monarchy. There's something like 50 or 60 monarchies in the world, but only 9 constitutional monarchies. Only 9 where the king or queen is head of state, but with limited powers, leading the country within a very tight set of rules. And it works. It works. Republicanism doesn't. Republicanism immediately exposes you to all sorts of problems. You're defending even your own governance. We never have that sort of problem. Whatever we're messing up within an organization, within a constitution, within a set of rules. So don't talk to me about republicanism. I've been and lived and worked in several republics. You want it? You go there and get it. You'll soon be back here with your tail between your legs. Doesn't matter whether you like Charlie or you don't like Charlie. Doesn't matter whether you like the royal family or you don't like the royal family, although most of the whinging is done out of envy. They've got it and we haven't. Well, look at the republics. If you want, look at the greatest republic of them all at the moment, the United States, where they shoot one another at the drop of a hat, and then they've got one of the biggest poverty problems anywhere in the world. That's what you want, that's fine. And for those people who keep on harping on about going back into the EU, go and work in the EU. Go and work over there. Go and work for the EU. And then come back and say whether you still want to go. In principle, the EU is a worthy and interesting concept. In practice, it is subject, like all Republican operations, where you've got a president and the power of the few is subject to corruption, patronage, nepotism, you name it. That's what you want, by all means. But go and live and work in it first before you make up your mind. Don't do it from a stool sitting on the edge. Where are we? I can't even tell you what the weather is today. I have no idea why this has gone wrong. None at all. And I can only think it shows that the power is just not going in. So why? I have no idea at all. No idea whatsoever. And I'm assuming that the power is going into this one. So it's coming from the same source. We'll try and fix it for later programs. I have no idea. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. So I'm really quite powerless and blind. Although I might just try one little thing that we might be able to do. Well, we've got it, but here we go. Newspaper headlines, and I hope that you can hear me. perhaps even see me. The Daily Express, we thank each and every one of you, King Charles III. The Metro, thank you each and every one. The same quote from the monarch. The Sun, our noble king, thank you each and every one. King Charles, in his message of thanks, also dominates the front page of The Sun. The carefully composed image is full of symbolic items. The king is pictured wearing the robe of state, the imperial state crown, and he is holding the sovereign's orb and sovereign's scepter with cross. The souvenir edition of The Sun also features images from Queen Elizabeth II's coronation inside the paper in front page plug promises. Right. Now, let's just... yes, I'm there. I'm still there. So we... no, we the Daily Telegraph. Once again, a picture of Charles. PM. Skip. The Prime Minister skip the GP for common illnesses. Right. Well, the Daily Telegraph has got a second headline. It says the Telegraph carries an exclusive story about planned health reforms, which will reportedly see patients encouraged to skip the GP for common illnesses in favor of a pharmacy-led approach. Well, there you go. The Mirror, thank you to you all. The Mirror even carries on with that message, much as it tends towards republicanism. But the second headline has got the cost of living crisis. And it says 2 million households unable to pay at least one bill last month. And the Daily Mail, my most heartfelt thanks. Grateful King's message to the nation. And it also then goes on for a headline is Boris and Charles in a Rwanda bus stop. And what it says is the two of them had a feisty row about whether we should send the asylum seekers to Rwanda. Now, one would expect Charles not to support something like that, and we would expect Boris to. That is the health of our community, not its death. We want robust challenges. We want people to argue, to have differences of opinion. And that's probably what's wrong with our governance at the moment is everybody's afraid to say something. You get somebody like Piers Morgan, right? Controversial, but at least he yells and screams and stamps his little feet and gets us all talking. The Mail story says Boris and the then Prince of Wales privately rowed about the government's plan to deport migrants to Rwanda. Okay. The Eye. Oh, the Eye actually, although it shows the King and Camilla, is pass on higher interest rates to savers, big banks are told. Well, that's encouraging, to say the least. Mostly governments are scared silly of the big banks. That's why they treat us so badly. Closing branches, closing ATMs, iniquitous interest rates, generally speaking, going bust and then asking us to bail them out. They're a shower. Everyone is scared silly of them. At long last, somebody has said, look, you've got higher interest rates now. Pass on those, because with higher interest rates, the bank makes more money. Then pass some of that on to your people who are savers. Improve their lot for leaving their money with you. Now, the Star is... right, a spy boss warns A1 fakery and lies may destroy society. We're in a real mess, it says, but who can tell? It's the paper shows an image of an android linked to a story about artificial intelligence, and it quotes Professor Kieran Martin, the former head of GCHQ's National Cybersecurity Center, raising concerns that the rapid development of A1 tablet tools capable of producing believable fakes risks undermining the fabric of our society. Yeah, not a bit surprised. Not a bit surprised. Well, there we are, and we're still there, and we're still there at 8:59. Just 1 minute to go. Boy, I've had a great rant this morning. I just loved it. And there's everything to rant for. Because now, okay, Mirador is a potted little television station. We don't pretend to be anything else right now, although we're moving towards trying to take on the role of watchdog because we've lost it. We don't have a watchdog anymore. We don't have any opposition. It's all gone, at least in this community. So we're shouting and screaming and yelling more than we have previously. As I said, if you don't like it, you don't have to listen. But somebody's got to yell and scream, because otherwise the lot in power will have it their own way. And that is not good enough. Not good enough indeed. Okay. I have no idea what's gone wrong with everything this morning. But we are ready to rock and roll. So it's 9 o'clock. The weather outside, not bad. It's going to rain at some stage during the day, but it's not cold either. So let's go with the flow. We'll be back in half an hour. I have no idea with things the way they are this morning, but nonetheless, we motor on. We never closed. We're like the Windmill Theatre in London, right even through lockdown. We never closed, and we ain't going to do it today. So we'll talk to you in half an hour. Toodle pip, toodle pip, toodle pip. Here we go.